So I was inspired to buy a bus and convert it into a living space back in 1986 at a Grateful Dead concert in Foxborough, Massachusetts on the 4th of July. I came out from the show and I saw this young guy with an old school bus with a new engine and transmission in it, and he converted it into a living space. And ever since then, I've been inspired to have a bus and to convert it myself. So finally, we've got the bus, and my wife Linda's on board with it, and she's going to do the design, and I'm going to do all the labor, and we're going to make it happen. In the essence of time and wanting to get the job done and to get all of the seats out so I can get insurance on it as a non-commercial vehicle, I went right into it and started tearing the seats out. So I've got one more seat left to tear out, and then we'll start ripping the floor out, and it'll be a full gut and remodel. So welcome to the bus. Place and a space that we can live in, travel in, explore in, and have all of the comforts of home while we go out into the wilderness or out to the coast or even visiting cities and towns and such. Oh. And here comes the dog. The dog seems to love the bus. Yes. So one big missing link that I see in the YouTube video world on schoolie conversions is the physical aspect of doing a bus conversion, and in general the physical aspect of doing manual labor, getting yourself in tight spots with hand tools and with power tools, and how can you get this job done without trashing your back or your neck or your wrists or your elbows or your knees for that matter. And over many years of working construction, remodeling my houses, and working physically as a chiropractor, I've learned a lot of different ways of using my body and being able to get the work done and feel good the next morning and be able to do it all over again. So welcome to the wonderful world of logistics and biomechanics of physical labor. And for me, this is definitely a labor of love, something I enjoy doing. I can go to a gym and I can lift weights and watch them move up and down and walk away and see nothing get accomplished. And I would rather spend my time working on my house, working on my yard, working on my bus, and getting physical exercise, getting stronger, staying stronger, and seeing something get done and accomplished. And at the end of the day, I've got a job done and I've got some physical strength, and blending all of that together brings me a lot of happiness and joy. So the first big physical job was getting the seats torn out. And taking the seats out involved a process of two of us. I was underneath of the bus, reaching up, connecting wrenches and vice grips to the nuts on the undercarriage of the bus, while another person was inside with a power drill, impact drill, pulling the bolts out and methodically going through the whole bus, removing all of the seats. We've got one seat left. This particular seat has all of the bolts and nuts are hidden by the fuel tank. So instead of dropping the fuel tank down, I used an angle grinder. My new favorite tool in my life is a wonderful angle grinder. And so I ground down the bolt heads and two more bolts to come out, and the last seat will be out of the bus, and I'll be able to get photos done to satisfy insurance requirements so we can have this registered as a non-commercial vehicle. The next part of the process will be to rip out the floor. There's a layer of rubber, and underneath the rubber there is a layer of plywood. All of that will be torn out. I'm not sure what the plywood condition is going to be, and with this being a bus for the state of Oregon for many years, and then being a bus for an outdoor program in Bend, Oregon, I'm not sure how the the condition is of the plywood underneath, but it's all going to be torn out. All of these holes will be welded and sealed, and then at the very end of everything being torn out and the holes all being sealed, then there'll be a paint that goes down, like an undercoating, vibration absorbing paint through all of the metal on the bus, get it very sealed and watertight. And then there will be a flooring put in with insulation, so there will be an insulated floor with plywood over the top. Once the floor is in, then the ceiling will be torn apart, all of the sheet metal will be taken down. There's a thin layer of fiberglass, standard fiberglass insulation like you would see in a house that does a very poor job of insulating a bus. That will all be torn out. The walls will also be removed. All of the sheet metal sheathing on the inside will be taken out and the insulation removed. New hard insulation will be going in. All of the windows will be removed and they will be replaced with RV windows that are able to be sealed very nicely, and the RV windows are also insulated and have other options of opening out or sliding windows, or ones that swing out or swing out from the bottom. And all of the air conditioning units will be pulled out. I was hoping to keep the air conditioning units, but it doesn't make sense to keep them. They take up a huge amount of space. So I've got these two large air conditioning units inside the bus, and then underneath of the bus there are two large air conditioning units with the cooling fans and all of the Freon down below. So those will be torn out to allow storage space to be built in, metal boxes and storage space underneath in those two locations. And then we'll be putting in a mini split air conditioner heater, very common home units that you see, and the unit inside that will be able to cool the bus and also heat the bus will take up about half of the size of one of these units. So we're vastly increasing the amount of usable space by going to a mini split as compared to using the air conditioning units that came with the bus. So this is a 2003 International School Bus. It is a very common truck body, or I should say it's a very common truck frame, engine, transmission combination. There are buses, so this is basically a international truck. It has a truck frame, and instead of it being a box truck or a flatbed truck, it has a bus body sitting on it. So the bus is very common. They've been building this type of truck for many, many years with the same engine, transmission, same basic mechanics of it. So any diesel mechanic out there in the world will be very familiar with all of the mechanics of this vehicle, which makes it very easy as far as any repairs that need to be done. Finding parts on the road will be very easy to find. So that's another reason why I'm really loving this bus. I'm very happy to have a mid-size bus. So a shorty bus was going to be too small, and a 30-foot bus being very nice to have all of the room, but having such a long bus is very difficult to maneuver in town. Parking, it's very challenging, and having this medium-sized bus is going to be just perfect for two of us and a dog to stay in, being able to get it into tight spaces. The bus is perfectly sized for 2 parking spaces. So after all of the air conditioners are out and all of the sheet metal sheathing on the inside will be taken out, and the insulation taken out, we'll basically have ribs on the sides, ribs on the top, and the skylights will be put in the place of the emergency exits. So this emergency exit will come out, and there will be a marine hatch at this location so that we can open the hatch. It'll be glass to allow light in. We'll be able to open it, whether we have it a little bit open on the road for ventilation. The emergency hatch in the back will be removed, and we'll be putting a max fan in there for ventilation. And with the marine hatch in this location, we'll be able to climb up and onto the roof. So there will be 2 metal rails that will go from just behind the driver's seat all the way to the back of the bus. On top of those, we will have solar panels at the back location. Over the rest of the bus, we'll have a rooftop deck, so we can climb up through the marine hatch in the front space in the bus. We'll be able to climb up there, access it as a deck, we'll be able to climb up through the marine hatch and access the deck up on top of the bus. And the deck will be used for storage of our paddle boards, storage of other items if we have play toys or we have bicycles or things like that. We'll be able to store up top, be able to sunbathe up on the deck, and have a lot of versatility to the usage of the bus, and also be able to change things up and have it a bit of a modular space. This will definitely be an atypical schoolie. This will not be a cabin feel kind of bus. This is going to be more like a New York City apartment on wheels. Thanks to my wife Linda's design expertise. She's got the design all in her head. That's pretty much all planned out, and all of the logistics and the mechanical work and the how-tos, that's all my department. And between the two of us, I trust we're going to make a pretty awesome space to be.